Hi, welcome to my video on solving trig equations and quadratics part 3 or number 3, and this video will be on the difference of two squares. The difference of two squares. The difference of two squares. If there is no GCF, then the factoring will have two sets of brackets. One set, two sets. Example. Sine squared minus 1 is the difference of two squares because it's the sine of theta being squared minus 1 squared. So the difference of two squares is factored as sine times sine minus 1 plus 1. If you multiply those by FOIL, you'll end up with sine squared minus 1. And that's similar to y squared minus 1, which is y squared minus 1 squared is the difference, subtraction of two squares, and the subtraction of two squares, y gives you y squared, 1 times 1 gives you 1, and the product is a negative, so it's a positive and a negative. B is, C is the difference of two squares. 4 is 2 squared, cos, so that's 2 cos theta squared gives you 4 cos squared minus 1 squared. So that's the difference of two squares. So it's 2 cos theta times 2 cos theta. 1 squared is 1 times 1 plus minus, and that's the difference of two squares. C is also the difference of two squares, but we have a 7. And if we have a 7, if we take the square root of 7, we get root 7, and that's cos theta. So root 7 squared is 7, and cos being squared is cos squared minus 1 squared. So again, we have the difference of two squares, which is root 7 cos theta, root 7 cos theta. 1 is 1 times 1, and there's a plus and a minus. And D is also, let's see, we have 2, and we have a sine theta, and if we do the square on both of them, 2 sine theta all squared is 2 sine theta times 2 sine theta, which is 4 sine squared theta, and that's a 3, so we do the square root of 3 and squared. So if we got a 3 here and we want to make it, the square root of 3 squared gives me a 3. So the difference, again, the difference of two squares, so it's 2 sine theta, 2 sine theta, and it's root 3 with a plus and a minus. So in trig, we can have the difference of two squares when we have a trig expression. And the similar one that I see on the internet and sometimes on YouTube, it says find the value of 2022 squared minus 2021 squared using a pen, not the calculator. Well, notice that this is the difference of two squares. So it's the difference of two squares. We can go 2022, we can go 2021, and this is the plus and that's the minus. So if you add these two up, you'll get 4,043. If you subtract those two, you'll get a 1. So that's 4043. So notice, without a calculator, it's the difference of two squares is easy to calculate. Okay, let's do some factoring with the difference of two squares. Solve for theta. 0 is less than or equal to theta less than 360. And we have cos squared minus 1 equals 0. So to solve it by factoring, notice it's the difference of two squares. So it's cos theta, 1, 1 with a plus and a minus equals 0. So we have cos theta plus 1 equals 0, or we have cos theta minus 1 equals 0. Because it's a quadratic, we have two factors. So cos theta equals negative 1, or we have cos theta equals 1. And we're on the circle, so again, this point here is 1, comma 0. This one is 0, 1. This one is negative 1, 0. And this one is 0, negative 1. As I said before, when you're doing a quiz or homework, always have this written down on a sheet of paper somewhere so you don't have to keep repeating it over and over, writing it down. Cos is the x is a negative 1. For this one, we got 180. And cos is 1. Right here, x is 1, and that's at 0 degrees. And we can't use the 360 because it didn't say equal to. So the answers to this question, if you solved it, would be 0 degrees and 180 degrees. Notice I have a square root here. Well, that's, instead of factoring, what about if we wrote this down and we moved the 1 to the right side and made it positive? Notice now we got, this is similar to a squared equals 1. So the square root of a squared is equal to plus minus the square root of 1. So a is equal to plus minus 1. So that's the same here. So the a squared is the same as cos squared. So the square root of cos squared theta is plus or minus the square root of 1. Square root of cos squared is cos theta and plus minus 1. So that means cos theta equals 1 or cos theta equals minus 1. So if you solved it this way, without factoring, you would have got to right here, and then you would have did this diagram and pick up the answers. So you can do it by factoring, or you can do it by completing the square. Because it's different than two squares, it's easy to do. Okay, let's do another one. Solve for theta, 0 is less than or equal to theta less than 360. And we have 12 sine squared theta equals 3. So we have to go 12 sine squared theta minus 3 equals 0. And I see a 3 as a GCF, so I take the 3 out, and I get 4 sine squared minus 1. 3 is a GCF, 12 divided by 3 is 4, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that becomes 3, and that's 2 sine theta, 2 sine theta, and there's a plus 1, minus 1, because we've got the difference of two squares. So that means we have 2 sine theta. Now, 3 equals 0. Because this is a constant, we cannot say 3 is equal to 0. So the 3 is just a constant. So the zeros, the answers are in these two brackets. So we let each of these brackets equal 0. And we solve 2 sine theta equals negative 1 divided by 2. That means sine theta is equal to negative a half. And over here, 2 sine theta equals 1 divided by 2. That means sine theta is equal to positive a half. And because we have sine positive and negative, well, this add sugar to coffee. Add sugar to coffee. And let me do that down here where I have more room. So, okay, sine is the y is negative, sine is positive in 1 and 2, is negative in 3 and 4. Terminal arm in 3, perpendicular to the x-axis. Terminal arm in 4, perpendicular to the x-axis. And we also have sine is positive. Again, sine is positive, a half. Sine is positive in 1. And sine is positive in 2. So sine is a half, or negative a half. So sine is a negative a half here. Sine is a negative a half here. Sine is a positive a half in 1. Sine is a positive a half in 2. And opposite the half is a 30-degree angle. So the reference angle for each one of these questions is 30. And just to complete the other part, this is a root 3 over 2 negative 1. This is a root 3 over 2, and that's a 1. This is a root 3 over 2, and the hypotenuse is 1. And this is a root 3 over 2, and that's negative, and the hypotenuse is 1. But the reference angle for each of these, because we have halves, reference angle is 30. So in the first quadrant, theta, first quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, theta is 180 plus the reference, so it's 210. In the fourth quadrant, theta is 360 minus the reference of 30, so it's 330. And in the first quadrant, theta is the reference angle of 30. In the second quadrant, theta is 180 minus the reference of 30, 150. So all these answers, so what happens, theta is, we got the lowest, smallest one is 30, the next one is 150, and the next one is 210, and the next one is 330. That's the answers to this question. But I have it as a square root, so if I wanted to solve this, let's solve this by doing the square root. So we divide by 12. We get sine squared theta is 1 over 4. That means the square root of sine squared theta is plus minus the square root of 1/4. That means the square root of sine squared is the square root of sine squared theta is sine theta, and that's plus or minus. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. So you can see sine is equal to a half, or sine theta is equal to negative a half. So if you did it by factoring, you would have got these answers here. If you did it by solving, because you have a square and no other, no other expression that's in terms of sine. So you can do it this way, get it this way, and then you work out all these answers. So the difference of two squares, or you can solve it, your choice. And we have another one to do. Don't forget to pause the video at any time and work it out before I do. Solve for theta, 0 is less than or equal to theta less than 360. And we have this equation, and we have brackets, so we'll multiply. Cos times cos is cos squared theta. Cos theta times 2 is 2 cos theta equals 1/3 of 6 is 2 cos theta, and 1/3 of 3 is 1. And you notice that 2 cos is on both sides, so we can cancel them out. So we get cos squared theta is equal to 1. So if you were doing that here, you would automatically do plus minus the square root. But because we want to do it by factoring, then we'll say cos squared theta minus 1 equals 0. This bracket, I didn't need to put it there. So this is cos theta 1, 1. The difference of two squares, so it's a plus minus. So cos theta plus 1 equals 0, or cos theta minus 1 equals 0. Cos theta is equal to negative 1, or cos theta equals 1. And we're on this circle, so we got a 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. Cos is the x, so where's x and negative 1? It's 180. And where's x1? it's at 0. So the answer to this question is 0 degrees and 180 degrees. And again, you can't use 360 because it didn't say equal to. And if I did the square root here, so if I were to do the square root property, I would do this step and I get the far 0. So let's take, if I were working this out, I would write this down by multiplying to get rid of the brackets. Then I cancel these out and I get this. So now, from here, you would say cos squared theta equals 1. So that means the square root of cos squared theta equals plus or minus the square root of 1. So cos theta equals plus or minus 1. Square root of 1 is 1. So that cos theta is equal to 1, or cos theta is equal to negative 1. So notice here, from here, I did it by factoring, or you could have did it by the square root property. Just two ways to do it, your choice, when you get difference of two squares. So that's solving trig equations when you have the difference of two squares. And if you like my video, click on the like button, subscribe button, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.